At the peak of the ute boom in Australia, dealers had you over a barrel. Waiting lists, above sticker markups, take it or leave it. That era has ended. But the way it ended is not what you were told. The market did not soften gently. It cratered for specific models, and right now, 8 utes are being quietly walked out the door of Australian showrooms, discounted, discontinued, or simply abandoned, while the dealers who sold them act like everything is fine. This is not a sale event. This is not a market correction. What is happening to these 8 models is a warning, and if you're in the market for a ute right now, or if you already own one of them, you need to hear this before your next conversation with a salesperson. There is no paid promotion in this video. This is the result of deep research into VFACTS sales data, manufacturer announcements, and industry reporting. It is not what the showroom wants you to know. We are counting down from 8 to 1. Number 1 will change how you think about the Australian ute market entirely. The end of peak ute. For the better part of a decade, the ute was the defining vehicle of the Australian car market. The Ford Ranger and the Toyota Hilux turned the dual-cab work truck into the most aspirational vehicle in the country. Tradies bought them, families bought them, professionals bought them. At the height of the boom, Australians were buying more utes per capita than almost anywhere on earth. But here is what the industry quietly acknowledged by the end of 2025. Peak ute has already passed. In mid-2025, sales of pickup and cab chassis utes, every single subsegment, were down compared to the same period the previous year. The two biggest ute brands in the country, Ford and Toyota, both saw their numbers soften. The Isuzu D-Max was down 11.1% for the full year. The Ford Ranger was down 9.6%. The Volkswagen Amarok was down 37.8% in the year to May alone. Toyota Australia's own Vice President of Sales made the call in January 2025. The dominance of dual-cab utes will come to an end. He said the average sales per model will come down. This was not a competitor saying that. This was Toyota. So what actually happened here? And more importantly, what does it mean for you? It means that right now, there are 8 specific utes sitting in Australian showrooms that dealers need to move. Understanding which ones they are and why is worth more than any deal they are likely to offer you. Before we get into it, smash the like button and subscribe to Aussie Car Expert. Let's break it down. Number 8, Mahindra Pik-Up. We begin with a ute that did not just decline, it vanished. The Mahindra Pik-Up was removed from the Mahindra Australia website in early 2025. No press release, no announcement, no farewell edition. It disappeared when dealers exhausted remaining stock. The Pik-Up had been on sale in Australia since 2009. 16 years, it was one of the oldest vehicle nameplates still available in the Australian new car market. And for most of those 16 years, it survived on a single advantage. It was cheap. Not refined, not particularly safe. It carried a 2-star ANCAP safety rating from 2009 that was never updated, but cheap. In 2025, cheap is no longer a differentiator for a ute in this market. Chinese brands now offer new utes with 5-star safety ratings, current technology, and competitive warranty terms at prices that eliminate what the Pik-Up once had to offer. Mahindra has confirmed a new ute is coming for Australia in 2026, reportedly engineered from the ground up for markets like ours. That is worth watching. But the Pik-Up itself is gone. And the buyers who purchased one in its final years without understanding what discontinued support looks like on a vehicle from a brand with no fixed presence in this market, they are finding out now. But here's the lesson that travels beyond just this vehicle. The cheapest ute in any showroom is cheap for a reason. Sometimes that reason is manufacturing efficiency. Sometimes it is the absence of long-term viability. Those two things look identical until they do not. Number 8 is already gone. Number 7 is still on the forecourt, and that is almost worse. Number 7, KGM, formerly SsangYong. Musso. You may have heard of the SsangYong Musso. The KGM Musso is the same vehicle. The Korean manufacturer SsangYong rebranded itself as KGM in 2023, following a period of severe financial difficulty that included a bankruptcy filing in South Korea. In a market where brand recognition is everything, choosing to rebrand an already obscure name into a name even fewer people recognize was not a masterstroke. In 2025, the KGM Musso diesel, the outgoing model, fell 35.1%. The brand overall dropped 23.7%, with just 4,116 vehicles sold across the entire year. The brand had promised an electric Musso for 2025. It did not arrive in Australia. A new generation Musso has been confirmed for 2026, but it is built on a heavily revised version of the existing platform. Not the clean sheet redesign the brand needed to change the market's perception of it. And here is the detail that tells you everything. The Musso exists in a segment being compressed from both sides simultaneously. On one side, Chinese Utes now offer more standard features and better safety ratings at competitive prices. On the other side, established Japanese Utes carry stronger resale values and deeper service networks. The KGM has neither the price advantage it once held nor the brand equity it needs to compete without it. The dealers with Musso stock are not making loud offers, they are quietly making room. That is a different posture, and it is worth paying attention to. Number 6. Toyota Tundra. This is the entry on this list that most surprises people, because this badge has a very different meaning in Australia. In 2025, the Toyota Tundra sold 837 units in Australia for the full calendar year. 837. The Tundra costs more than the Ford F-150. It is built in the United States, right-hand drive converted, and sold to a market that Toyota Australia has clearly designated as a premium niche rather than a volume target. The problem is that 837 units across an entire country for an entire year is not a niche. It is barely a product. And here is the specific financial reality that buyers of low-volume vehicles in Australia face. When a vehicle sells at this scale, the support infrastructure, parts availability, factory-trained technicians, recall turnaround times, is stretched in ways that do not appear until something goes wrong. This is not speculation about the Tundra specifically. This is what happens structurally when a manufacturer cannot justify the investment required to support a vehicle properly in a small market. Toyota built its Australian reputation on reliability. The Land Cruiser and the Hilux are decades of evidence. But here's what the Tundra reveals. That reputation does not automatically transfer to every vehicle wearing the badge. The Tundra is not benefiting from Toyota's name in any measurable way here because the volume is not there to create the feedback loop of familiarity and trust that Toyota's other products have built over time. The dealers selling Tundras are motivated. The terms are negotiable, but that buyer needs to understand exactly why the negotiating position exists. Number 5, Ram 1500, 2500 and 3500. The Ram story in Australia is the story of a segment that overreached and is now pulling back. Ram was the brand that proved Australians would pay premium prices for American-style full-size trucks. In 2018, the first right-hand drive Ram 1500 arrived and found buyers willing to spend above $100,000 for that experience. That was genuinely surprising. It was also the opening act of a premium ute segment that would eventually include Chevrolet, Ford, and Toyota all competing in the same space. In 2025, that entire segment registered 8,763 vehicles, down 17.4% on the year before, down from 10,611. 4 brands competing for fewer than 9,000 buyers per year across the whole country. Ram specifically, across the 1500, 2500 and 3500 combined, recorded a 15.2% sales decline from January to November 2025. The market it once occupied almost entirely to itself has been split and then compressed. But here's the structural reality. These vehicles are not manufactured for Australia. They are manufactured for North America and right-hand drive converted, a process that adds significant cost, limits modification options, and creates a parts supply chain that is longer and more complex than any Japanese or European alternative. That cost is always embedded in the price, and it does not decrease as sales volumes fall. The Ram is not a bad vehicle. For the buyer with a genuine need for its towing and payload capacity, a serious agricultural application, a heavy commercial trailer operation, it is competitive. But for the buyer purchasing it as a prestige statement, the prestige is losing its premium as the segment contracts and the discounts appear. The Ram dealers are dealing. The question, as always, is whether you understand why. Number 4, Volkswagen Amarok. Here is a ute that launched with genuinely justified excitement. In 2022, Volkswagen released the second-generation Amarok. It was not just a new ute, it was the first ute in this market built on the same platform as the Ford Ranger, Australia's best-selling vehicle. It offered genuine premium quality, genuine towing capacity, and a price that said it knew exactly what it was worth. The market disagreed. By mid-2025, the Amarok was down 37.8% year-to-date, 2,034 units in 5 months. For context, the Ford Ranger sells more than that in a single month. Volkswagen as a brand had fallen 20.6% across all models in 2025. The year before, it fell 16.8%. A decade ago, Volkswagen sold 60,225 vehicles in Australia. In 2025, that number was 28,970. That is not a brand having a rough year. That is a brand in a sustained and accelerating retreat from the Australian market. And here is the specific problem with the Amarok. It is priced above what the Australian ute buyer will accept without a compelling reason. Chinese alternatives, GWM Canon Alpha, LDV T60 Max now offer comparable payload and towing capacity for $20,000 to $30,000 less. The Amarok is a better finished, more refined vehicle, but refinement is not how most Australians justify a ute purchase. They justify it on price, payload, and practicality. On those three criteria, the Amarok is losing ground every quarter. Dealers have not announced a clearance. They do not need to. The sales trajectory makes the terms of negotiation obvious, if you are prepared to have that conversation. Number 3. Ford F-150. This is the ute that should have been a success story. It arrived with the weight of the world's best-selling vehicle behind it. The Ford F-150, the number one selling vehicle in the United States for over 40 consecutive years, was brought to Australia in right-hand drive configuration. It was expensive. It was enormous. It was sold as the pinnacle of the premium ute segment. In 2025, Ford found 792 Australian buyers for the F-150, 792, in a country of 27 million people, in a market that sold more than 56,000 Ford Rangers in the same calendar year. By the year to May 2025, the F-150 was down 35.5%. It also spent periods of 2025 under a stop sale order due to unspecified technical issues, significant enough for Ford Australia to halt transactions. Those issues have since been resolved with the launch of the updated Series 2, but the damage to buyer confidence had already been done. But here's the number that tells you everything about where the F-150 stands. In 2025, the F-150 was outsold in Australia by the Toyota Tundra. The Toyota Tundra, a vehicle with less than half the brand recognition, finished ahead of the American benchmark in its own segment. Globally, the electric F-150 Lightning has ceased production due to insufficient demand. In Australia, the F-150 Lightning, imported and converted by ORCV, had its price cut by $60,000 from $169,990 to $109,990. A $60,000 reduction is not a discount. It is a distress signal. What does this mean if you're considering an F-150 today? The pricing is the most accessible it has ever been. That is a real opportunity. But you're also buying into a vehicle with a thin resale market, a narrow dealer and service footprint, and a future product roadmap that has not been confirmed for Australia. The combination of a reduced purchase price and an uncertain future is exactly the scenario that demands the most due diligence. Number 2. INEOS Grenadier Quartermaster. The second entry on this list is the most unusual case study on it, because this is the only brand that told you, directly in writing, that something needed to change. In October 2025, INEOS Automotive Australia announced it was abandoning the agency sales model it had used since launching locally in May 2022. The brand was switching to a traditional retail dealer network from January 2026. Here is why that matters. Under the agency model, INEOS, not the dealerships, owned the stock. INEOS set the prices nationally. Dealers were agents who processed transactions, not retailers who carried financial risk. In theory, this gave buyers transparent pricing and gave the brand complete control over its product presentation. In practice, it created something else: cash flow pressure, longer lead times, and, critically, dealerships with no financial incentive to actively sell. When you do not own the inventory, you do not feel the urgency to move it. While that announcement was made, INEOS was simultaneously offering discounts of nearly $20,000 on the Grenadier Quartermaster, the dual-cab ute version of the Grenadier range. The brand reports approximately 100 Grenadiers per month across the entire Australian lineup. 100 units per month total for a vehicle retailing above $100,000 for fully specified variants. That is a financially precarious sales rate. INEOS is not a brand without merit. The Grenadier is a genuinely capable off-road vehicle. BMW inline 6 engines, ZF 8-speed transmissions. The Quartermaster is a legitimate working vehicle with serious capability, but it is a brand that has spent its first 3 years in Australia restructuring its entire commercial model, offering its largest product at its largest discount, competing against the Toyota Land Cruiser 70 Series. It's a vehicle with 40 years of trust embedded in its reputation. But here is what makes INEOS different from every other entry on this list. It disclosed the problem itself. The decision to abandon the agency model, combined with the scale of the Quartermaster discount, was a transparent acknowledgement that the current approach was not generating enough velocity. That kind of transparency is rare in this industry. It does not reduce the risk of the purchase, but it does at least tell you where the leverage sits. It sits with you, which brings us to number 1. Number 1, Nissan Navara. Everything else on this list is a brand failing in a market it could not crack or losing ground it once held. Number 1 is different. Number 1 is an iconic Australian ute brand being replaced by a vehicle it did not build. The Nissan Navara. In 2025, Nissan's overall Australian sales fell 21.6%. The Navara, Nissan's flagship dual-cab ute, fell 28% for the full year. The 4i2 variant alone was down 67.1% in the year to May. 67%, not a soft quarter, not a bad month. 2/3 of the buyers had gone, but here is what makes this so remarkable. Nissan's response to this collapse was to reveal a next-generation Navara, and that next-generation Navara is a rebadged Mitsubishi Triton. Let that land, a manufacturer that has sold utes in Australia for decades, a brand with genuine heritage in this market, could not justify the engineering cost of building its own replacement. So it took its alliance partners platform, fitted Nissan badges, and called it a future. That is not a product strategy. That is a concession. And it is a concession with a very specific meaning for anyone who owns a current Navara or is considering buying one today. The next generation model will share nothing with the current car. That means parts supply, resale positioning, and the service ecosystem around the current Navara will all shift as the model transitions. Dealers will begin prioritising the new platform. Stock of the current model will be cleared. And the buyers who took the deal without asking why the deal existed will find themselves on the wrong side of a transition they were not told about. This is not speculation. This is how model transitions work in the Australian market. Every brand on this list is in some form of transition. And in every case, the terms of that transition favour the dealer over the buyer unless the buyer asks the right questions. The Navara sits at number one because it is the most instructive case of all. This is not a niche brand. This is not an imported American truck. This is Nissan. And if Nissan cannot justify building its own ute for this market, it tells you something significant about where the entire segment is heading. The Navara deal on the forecourt today is real. The discount is real. But the reason it exists, and what it means for the vehicle after you drive it out, is the question that no one in the showroom will volunteer to answer. What this tells you. So what ties these 8 utes together? 3 things. First, pricing. Every vehicle on this list is priced at a level the Australian market no longer accepts, without significant justification. Whether that is a Chinese alternative undercutting the Amarok and the Musso, or a contracted premium segment making the Ram and the Tundra harder to justify, price pressure is driving every decline on this list. Second, competition has changed. This is not the market of 2018 or 2020. In 2026, the Australian ute market includes 27 models from 21 brands, with more incoming. The models that built their case when there were fewer alternatives are now competing in a fundamentally different environment. Third, peak ute has passed. What comes after is a buyer's market, but only for buyers who understand what they are actually purchasing. 3 things to take forward. If you are in the market right now, research aggressively. The discounts on these vehicles are real, but the reason the discount exists is also real, and that reason travels with the car after the paperwork is signed. If you own one of these vehicles, monitor the secondary market now. Not every model on this list is a financial disaster, but knowing your vehicle's position is the difference between being reactive and being informed. And if you are sitting in a showroom, ask one question before you test drive anything. Ask the salesperson, how many of this model have you sold in the last 3 months? The answer will tell you more than any spec sheet. If you got something out of this, hit subscribe. Every week on Uzi Car Expert, we take the Australian car market apart, the history, the finance, the decisions that cost real money, so you can walk into any dealership in this country and know exactly what you are dealing with. Drop a comment below. Which ute on this list hit you hardest?